then Monday, we should be able to get through the My Health claims because we've done this before, most of us. So I think we should be able to do that. Do not forget that on Monday, what you need to have. So label research. When we talk about that, basically you're going to go to a store, look at some different labels, and jot down. It can be, I don't even care how neat it is. I just want to see that you did it. Let me know where you went. And then just jot down things that you see on labels, claims, that, they're loaded with vitamins and minerals. Or, so just look at different labels in the store. Take a peek at the length of some of the labels. So really you're just spending time looking at labels is what you're doing. Focus. I am going to get on Blackboard a kind of a focus rubric, I guess, type of a thing. Just to let you know, if you want extra credit for that, go to the focus, take notes. Remember, you are differentiating fact from their opinion and then giving your opinion. I don't want you just to spew back at me what they said. Okay, so a little bit of effort needs to go into this, but when you're taking notes, try to see what is opinion, what is the fact that they base that opinion on, and then what conclusions can you draw from that. So you can get extra credit for that. The chapel part doesn't count. You have to get this from one of the focus smaller groups. Okay. I'm going to jump down to the one-day diet do. This is like a dry run. In about, let's see, I talked to a friend of mine. He's from Canada, and so I think my it got a little bit Canadian there. So look in the syllabus under the your diet paper, the diet analysis. It is due the end of April, but you're going to want to make it kind of a sequential thing. All right, you have to do a 3-day diet, and every day needs to be printed out separately, as well as a conclusion, and then you are writing a paper on that. So you'll see here, the end of March is when your diet printouts are due, and then the end of April is when the whole diet analysis is due. This is a dry run, so any time between now and then, just kind of take a day, write down everything that you eat, drop it into Choose My Plate, and print out the analysis so that I can confirm or deny that you know what you're doing, okay? So that when you go to do the 3-day, you've already done it once, you've set up your account, you'll be able to drop your 3-day in pretty easily, okay? And so, excuse me, let's see where we are here. Did that. Research. I am tweaking our 10 topics on Friday. I will have those for you guys to pick from. All right, so I'll just have those up here with the sign-up sheets for you to pick from. And so, that nutrition research will probably make that, we may have to bump a few things back. I was a little slow. Charlie did her part. I've been slow in tweaking it. So I want to get that to you this weekend so you guys can start thinking it through. But I'll probably give you a little bit extra time there, so we'll see as we get closer to the presentations. The presentations in class, just so you know, obviously if 5 groups are going in one day, this is less than a 10-minute presentation. It doesn't have to be fancy or formal. It is letting the class know kind of what you found. Everybody's going to see this document. So it really is just a chance to share with your class what you found. And very informal. You can do a PowerPoint if you want, but you don't have to. It's mostly just explaining what you have found. But we may bump those back just a little bit. We'll see how that goes. So that was my call. I really want this to be good, and so I've been kind of tweaking. I keep changing what the 10 topics are. So I'm trying to pick those best ones. Carly gave me a good group to work from, and And then we're going to go from there. Snack meal dates. So you guys have the first one, and you're doing that Monday, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So I will have your money on Friday, and then the rest of you, I'll probably have your money next week, okay? I'll give you guys the money, and then you can go shopping, okay? Okay, where are we? Tonight, 6:30 at the PT clinic. This is when the dietitian nutritionist is coming to talk to the group. And you get extra credit from that. Once again, the wording of what you turn back into me, you'll get some extra credit for just being there. If you want a little bit more extra credit, write me a reflection like I just told you. I'll make sure the reflection rubric gets on to Blackboard, okay? So tonight at 6:30 across the street. Be there or be square. Okay. Schedule. Okay, exam 1. All right, I think I made it through everything I wanted to tell you guys. Exam 1 is coming up. So what is that? That is Friday, a week from Friday. In your, on Blackboard, in the thing labeled exam reviews is an exam review for the first exam. It's very specific. You can thank Deb Varlin for that because I wouldn't be that specific. But the reason she did it is this. The exam is not easy. Okay, I'm just going to be completely upfront with you. I've been debating whether to tweak it, and I finally came to the conclusion of no. I really like the exam. She's done a great job. She spent a lot of years getting it to where it is. It's not difficult if you've prepared. If you haven't prepared, you will not do well. Okay? Oh, did you turn that on by chance?
Yeah, I did.
Thank you. So if you need to prepare. What I would start doing is right now, start preparing on here. This whole section, look, carbohydrate review. We're already done with carbohydrates. So you can kind of go through, all right, and look at anything that could possibly be on the exam is there, okay? And fat review. What I would start doing if I were you, I probably should have told you this before we really got into the lectures, I would open up, get the review form out, so as you're going through fat and you're looking at the PowerPoints in the book, you can already see what you're going to need to know for fat. That may help you as you go through and read the chapter and go through the PowerPoints and mark things up. And then you can add extra stuff in as we go through the lecture, okay? And then even chapter 2, so the food pyramid label reading, kind of the stuff from there. Those of you who had 153 have a slight advantage, except I think we're getting really good in 150 or 101s too of talking about nutrition. So hopefully if you didn't have 153, you still feel like you were adequately prepared in the 101 with that. So then what are the nutrient goals of what we've talked about? It's right there. So it's all laid out for you. Use the review sheet. That is what it's there for, to help you prepare. It is all pretty much like a fill-in-the-blank short answer type of a test. Okay? Which means you need to know the information. All right? So you should be preparing. I would start that now. Start making little note cards, carry them with you. Whatever it is that you do to review, go back, review through the carbohydrate, get that printed up, and then start moving forward into the fats, okay? When I made the decision not to change the test, I thought I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of fair warning. It's difficult, but it's not impossible. Part of how I came to this conclusion, I've talked to previous students that were in the class, and they all said the tests are fair if you prepare. Oh, look, the tests are fair if you prepare, right? So, you know, that they felt like it was okay that they were difficult, but they were good. All right, questions, thoughts, comments? We all right? Okay. I know we're all sleepy. It's like it's been dreary now for a couple days, and we're all missing some vitamin D. We're probably stayed up late for the Super Bowl and then had stuff to do after it or whatever. So focus in here. I have a point I really would like to get to, but I love discussion, so do not feel bad if you do throw things out for discussion. We can do that. Otherwise, we're gonna kind of try to keep moving forward through the chapter. So fats, that's where we are. Hopefully you knew that. Hopefully you visited the chapter. So, fat isn't all bad. It's been given a really bad rap. It's not all bad. Our bodies need it, which is why it's one of our macronutrients. Okay, you need the fat. A lot of it for brain function. Fat is really important. However, you do have to be careful, as in the carbohydrates, there's the good fats and the bad fats. Okay, so you have to pay attention to that. So what are the functions of fat? To provide energy needs. We talked about that a little bit in the carbohydrate part, that when the carbs aren't there, fats can be broken down, and the glycerol from that can be used then to provide the energy. To provide essential fatty acids, so our cell membranes, components of hormones come from here. This is important. Okay? Hormones do a lot of communication around the body, and obviously we need to have those healthy cell membranes. And also there are certain vitamins that are only soluble in fat, which means they cannot break down in water. All right? What are those for? Vitamin A is one. D. E and K. Okay? Vitamin A, D, E, and K. So we talked about vitamin D a little bit. In Michigan, like we were talking earlier, I take a vitamin D supplement, and I use a spray. It's absorbed much easier into the body. Some people have problems with taking it internally. But in Michigan, we really do not get enough sun most of the year. Okay, so if this is where you call home, or Canada, or any of the northern states, you need to be thinking about getting some vitamin D. But then you need the fat in order to absorb it into the body, which is why I happen to eat my salads dry, just because I can't have a lot of the chemicals in dressing, so unless I make my own dressing and that, and I don't. But that little bit of fat, not a lot, you don't dump a whole, you don't take ranch and then drop some lettuce leaves in the ranch. So you make your salad, you take some dressing, put it on there, and the fat from that helps to absorb some of those vitamins. So actually dressing on salad can be a good thing. Be choosy about which dressing you pick, and portion size is important there. So in fat, 9 calories per gram. Okay, so this is different than the carbohydrates and proteins, which is what? 4. Okay, so 9 calories per gram fat. 1 pound of fat is about 3,500 calories. You know, so you could say, okay, if you know, over the course of a week, if your calories out is 3,500 more than your calories in, you burned a pound of fat. There are a lot of external things going on there, so you can't call it a direct correlation. However, I think it's a good thing, just, you know, that you can kind of use as a guide, looking at calories in, calories out, what types of calories are they, what types of fats are we talking about, are you gaining muscle in the meantime, because, you know, that's something else that you have to take into consideration. So a lot of issues there. But you can kind of go from that and be okay. Okay, so the recommendation is 20 to 35% of total calories. That's when the American Heart Association talks about less than 30%. All right. And so you want to keep it there. Now there is the lower end for a reason. If you get below that 20%, there could be some issues that happen because we need fat, right? The upper end is where you want to play with that a little bit, okay? If somebody is trying to lose weight, or we're going to talk about, cardiovascular disease and kind of the direct correlation with intaking certain fats, which is why the American Heart Association brings that level down a little bit, but you still need some. But what is really hard, I would say the generation above me, so it might be your grandparents, or some of your parents if they're a little bit older. The generation above me, if their doctor says something, they do it as gospel truth and they do it to the extreme. So we have to be really careful. And so if the doctor says, okay, you need to limit your fat, it needs to be under 30%, but they don't give the lower end, they're going to go out and they're going to buy everything with no fat, right? And we've talked about that. They've now added more sugar to it to make it taste good. Extra sugar is then stored as fat, okay? So those are things to think about. American Dietitians Association, Dietetics Association, American College of Sports Medicine says 20 to 25%, so that limits it even more. It makes it a smaller window because you still don't want to go below that minimum, all right? They just brought the top down. In my book, these next few statements say a lot more. It depends on the type of fat that you're intaking. If you're eating a lot of processed foods, then yeah, I would say processed foods is your main thing. Follow the American College of Sports Medicine at that lower arena because you don't want a lot of those bad fats, all right? So saturated fat. So then, you're thinking out of this 20 to 35%, you want it less than 7 to 10% to come from saturated fat. However, saying that, so I want you to know that number. Knowing that range of numbers is important. But I want to point this out. There are some saturated fats that are healthy for you within this range, okay, that can actually bring health benefits. However, there are some saturated fats that I wouldn't even say would be healthy for you in this range. So once again, it's the type of fat that we're looking at, and we'll get into that in a little bit. Trans fats, or any type of fat that has been chemically modified. And this is where my opinion's going to come in a little bit. I would say if it's a food that has used trans fats or I can never say this one, esterified fats, you're probably just better off not eating that food, all right? And we'll get into some of that in a little bit, but that really, and they obviously agree with me here, so modified foods, less than 1% needs to, well, you do not need this, let me just say that. This is not necessary. Up here, these are things that are actually, you need them. You do not need trans fats or any of those in your diet. You can get all of your fats from the other areas, okay? And then cholesterol. So cholesterol less than the 300 milligrams a day, and then if you're down to 1,000 calories, talks about 100 milligrams. Cholesterol is interesting, and I believe we'll touch on that later. Too, that your body makes cholesterol, okay? You can also intake cholesterol. The studies are really scattered on the effects of intaking cholesterol if it is really bad, considering that our body makes it anyway, okay? And it is necessary in our body. However, all of that to be said, I still think there is a benefit to keeping the cholesterol within range and doing things to really increase the HDL of that, okay? which we know are the good ones that can help to get rid of some of the triglycerides that are floating in the blood. All right, table 5.4. My book's on 182. It's not that for you guys. So here is just looking at, you know, what are your daily allowances for grams of fat? Oh, I kind of skipped over that back there, didn't I? If we're looking at a 2,000 calorie diet, 66 grams of fat, all right? So if you multiply that by 9, you're going to get about 600 fat calories going from grams to the calories, all right? Within that then, so if we're looking at the 2,000 calorie diet, within that then 22-ish% can come from saturated fat, and then about 200 milligrams of cholesterol. So that's just kind of an example of what this would look like at different levels of a caloric diet. The 2,000 is pretty much what you're going to find on your labels, okay? So look at that too. Kind of look at the ingredient list, look at the information that is found on the labels. But most of the information there will be based on a 2,000 calorie diet. Okay. Let me see. Before we jump here, flip back to table 5.2. In table 5.2, you are going to see a variety of foods divided up by your general basic food groups. And as you look through there, it shows you like the percent calories that are total fat, percent calories that are saturated fat. So we've talked about that your percent calories should be 20 to 35-ish. All right, percent of total calories should come from fat. So as you look down this list, that can help you decide, you know, okay, when I am putting a meal together, if I am trying to keep the fat within that range, what does that look like? Because when you do Choose My Plate, when you run our meal that we're going to consume here through Choose My Plate, it's going to tell you, you're a little bit high in the fat area, a little bit, you know, low or whatever in the protein area, whatever that ends up being. So look at that. Now, if you choose to have bacon as part of your meal, by all means have bacon as part of your meal if that is what you choose. If you have no adverse reasons why you shouldn't have bacon. However, notice that at 80% calories total fat. So what are you going to pair that with? Hopefully you're going to pair that with maybe a vegetable or a fruit.